If you're often experiencing discomfort when you're out riding, it can be because you need to change your position, something isn't quite right. Although it can feel quite confusing to know where to start and go about doing this. But in this video, I'm going to list a few pretty common areas of discomfort that you may encounter when you're cycling and how you can go about potentially fixing this. Let's dive in. Starting off with saddle sores. Now they can be a real ruiner to your cycling fun and turn a nice gentle ride into feeling like you're sitting on a snooker ball. Absolutely horrific. Suffered with them plenty of times in the past. There are a few ways you can go about fixing them. If you are someone who often experiences the flipping saddle sore, the first thing I would do is lower your saddle height. So if your saddle is a bit too high, what happens is you begin to overreach for the pedals and your hip starts to rock, and that rocking causes friction on the saddle, and that can begin to be quite a common cause of saddle sores over time. Saddle choice is another one to look at too. You want to be trying to carry the majority of your body weight on your sit bones. If you're sitting further forward on the nose of your saddle, then what that means is you're going to be taking a lot of pressure on your groin area, on your sensitive areas. Plus, if your saddle isn't wide enough too, same story. So you want to look at moving your saddle forward, potentially getting a wider saddle with a cutout, and that is going to help alleviate any groin issues, any pressure that is going on those sensitive areas. Numb hands, tingles, pins and needles can really be a dampener on your ride. And one of the main reasons for this is because you're taking too much weight with your hands. That upper body weight is forward and it is all resting on your bars. A reason for this could be because your reach is too long and your core doesn't quite have the strength to be able to maintain your body, so your hands are having to do all the work. Another one could be your saddle tilt. So I spoke about the benefits to slightly tilting your saddle down in a previous video, but one of the drawbacks was that it shifts your weight forwards onto your bars, causing those numb hands and tingles. So something to look at could be shortening your reach, opting for a shorter stem, or potentially tilting your saddle up a little bit. Plus, you've got to look at your core, strengthening your core so your body is able to take that weight and not just your hands. Tight shoulders, really common problem when you're cycling. It's something I suffered with myself quite a lot when I was racing actually, and there's one point it got so bad that I could barely pull the brakes. Bit of a low moment, that one. But if you are suffering with tight shoulders yourself, I think there's a few things that you can look at changing. Number one would probably be raising your bars. So if the height of your bars is pretty low relative to your saddle height, what you'll find if you don't have the flexibility is it will be overreaching, so kind of craning your neck, which can build tension up and lead to quite severe tightness in your muscles. By raising your bars, you allow yourself to sustain a much more relaxed position that you can hold for a longer period of time and feel pretty solid with, without the need to crane your neck and cause that muscle tightness. Part of the reason as well that I found I got tension in my shoulders was because I used to run super narrow bars, which really help a lot if you're maneuvering in a bunch, getting through narrow gaps. There's less bar to try and squeeze through those gaps. But at the same time, if you are running really narrow bars, it does kind of close up those shoulders a bit, and I personally think that can lead to tension. So when I opted for wider bars, it helps to open you up and find that position, which is much more relaxing and more comfortable too. As always, there is an optimal measurement here, so going too wide isn't going to help either. So a good starting point, trying to get the correct bar width, is to go off your shoulder width and try and get a bar width which matches up with that. Knee pain can be a frustrating one to suffer from and try and fix as well, and there's a whole host of reasons that can cause it. I'm not going to go into everyone in this video because, to be honest, you need a whole video or two to really dissect everything. But it is not just position that can lead to knee pain. Poor core strength and stability off the bike can be quite big factors that lead to suffering from pain in your knees when you're riding. Also, if you're recovering from an injury, that is a big one too. So it's quite likely that if you have injured your knees and you're trying to get back to riding, if you're not fully recovered, changing position is going to make no difference whatsoever. You need to make sure you're fully recovered before you start riding again. And also seek the help of a trained professional, a physio, to make sure that you are getting back to your riding in the best way possible and not doing any damage as a result of trying to get back to pressing on the pedals. A common cause of knee pain in cyclists, however, is because your saddle is set too high. That's because your hamstrings and your IT band is overextending in the pedal cycle, which can over time cause pain at the side of the knee here and also at the back. On the flip side though, if your saddle is set too low, your knee will be forced to bend more, which can put compression on the front of your knee, on your kneecap, which can increase pain there. So that's similar to a poorly executed squat or knee bend, and having your saddle too low puts you in a similar situation. Getting your saddle height right and getting the correct knee angle is a really good starting point to make sure that you avoid such issues with your knees. So good place to go is to get a photo of yourself side on when your leg is fully extended in the pedal cycle, and you want to be looking for an angle of 25 to 30 degrees from your hip to your knee down to your ankle. So if you get that photo, you can draw that line onto the photo and look to get the correct angle there, or use a bike fitter. They have the correct tools to be able to do that properly in the workshop. I found personally that my knee issues were actually caused by the Q factor of my pedals. So I opted for wider pedals, which brought my feet outwards in line with my hips, got quite wide hips, and that definitely helped solve those issues. It's not just your saddle height which can cause those problems. Plus, you need to think about things like your pedal float. So if your cleats are really locked in, you have no movement whatsoever, that can be another contributing factor to some potential knee issues. Last up, if you're finding it hard to put down the power when the road really heads uphill, then one thing to potentially consider is your saddle tilt. So if your saddle is pointing up too much, when you do hit those steeper gradients, what you'll find is that your saddle will point up even further as the road rises, which can make it quite hard to ride efficiently and transfer your power to the pedals. So just tilting your saddle down slightly, finding what works for you can make a big difference. And that applies actually to everything we've said in this video. Don't make one whapping big change straight away. Do things little and often over time and constantly assess whether it's working and if it's the right option for you. There you go then, a few things you may be able to change in terms of your position on the bike that will hopefully make you a bit more comfortable when you're enjoying those spins out on the road. Let me know in the comment section down below though what you've changed in your position and how that potentially helped you. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.